Hello and welcome to the Self-Storage Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Thaddeus Campbell, joined for the second time by someone I am lucky to call friend, call partner, call boss. I call him a lot of things. Russell Nursisoff back on the show, CEO, co-founder of Safe Storage USA. Russell, thanks for coming on again.
I'm happy to be here, man.
Hey, so usually my first question is, how did you get into self-storage? But we went through that earlier this year when you came on the podcast. You can go back, those of you listening, and listen to the first episode I did with Russell. That's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. You can find it all over the place. But I want to talk a little bit because you've been involved in real estate for a very long time. And you're right now down in Florida. In Sarasota, you have a new home down there, but you have a place up in Long Island. You got another place on the east coast of Florida. You've been involved in residential real estate, commercial real estate. Where did your love of real estate come from?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
That's what I try and make them good ones.
As some of you might know, I've been practicing chiropractic for a while, and up until 2019. So I stopped about 5 years ago. And it takes a long time to get a license to become a physician, and you got to get undergrad, you got to go grad school and loans and the whole 9 yards. And about 22 years ago, I said to myself, why don't I go get a real estate license? And I became a realtor, and just to have fun with. It was not something that I was looking to get into full time. Just to learn about investing, and just wanted to be able to get to the MLS and to look at different properties, this and the other. To make a long story short, eventually I was able to make more money doing real estate than I was able to generate income from my chiropractic practice. And I said to myself, this is the license to kill. Literally, this is where it's at. And over the years, it just became a larger part of my life. And eventually, when I transitioned from my practice, and I sold my practices back in 2019. I turned into a full-time real estate investor, and then self-storage and many other assets came along, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
So two things I want to go down. The first one is you talk about just going and getting your real estate license. You thought it would be fun, right? So I'm interested in this a lot because for the vast majority of people in our country, fun for them when they're done their primary job. And listen, being a chiropractor takes up a lot of time. You talked about the education side of it, but running a business, then treating your patients. Most people think of fun as I'm going to go to the bar and have a drink with my friends. I'm going to watch a sporting event. What is it about Russell Nursisoff that thought it would be fun to go get your license to sell real estate? Is something particular that triggered that?
It depends on your definition of fun. So my definition of fun, if I can combine my passion and being able to earn income along the way. So anything that I can do to put those two together, I'm having a lot of fun. Even today, when you and I are working every day, I wouldn't even go as far as call it working together. We are creating, we are collaborating, we are having fun doing what we love. That also helps us generate income. So I guess, just like I said, it depends on your definition of what having fun is. Being an investor and being able to put deals together, this is not a 9-to-5 job, as you know, it's a 24/7 job. So especially if you happen to love what you do, and I am happen to be in love with what I do. I know you love your, I wouldn't even call it work, but you love your investment career as well. And I think success comes when a hobby or when your passion becomes a vehicle for you to start earning income, and at that point, it's definitely not a job. Just love what I do.
So I want to dive down this a little bit. In case you can't tell by Russell's accent, he was not born in the United States, moved here at 19 years old, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it must be very, very difficult.
Slightly noticeable, not that bad. But I wonder if that's something, my great-grandfather moved over the border. My grandfather was 3 years old, built his own family business, running a farm. I wonder if that's something that is more common in people that come here from other countries to prioritize finding something to do that makes money. You talked about that and going to get your broker's license. Yeah, it was something you were interested in, but it was a way to make money.
Well, the immigrant mentality is you got to do whatever it takes to make it, right? The immigrant mentality is you don't get to choose what it is that needs to be done. You do whatever has to be done at the moment, so you can make and you can go to the next level. Now we came from, my family and I came from Ukraine, and where the opportunities were very scarce. So that was never part of my vision, my world, and all of a sudden I was in an environment where anything is possible. And I don't think enough people here appreciate how many possibilities we have, and how approachable it is if you're just willing to put in work. So yeah, whatever needs to be done, whatever has to be done under circumstances, and once again, but the lucky few will find that very rare synergy of liking what you do and being able to generate income, and I'm one of those. Very
And I'm happy to be partnered with you. I think it's one of the reasons that you and David Hanses, who's our other third partner in this group, why we get along so well. Because when we talk about this stuff, it's not work for us. It's not like, hey, I got to go do this, or hey, I got to go do this. It's, hey, I get to go do this. This is something that I really love and enjoy. Really cool that we've been able to find that place. I'm interested because I'm 51 years old now. I know you might have me by a year or two in that deal. David's a little younger than us, but
Or
it took me a long time to find people that I felt comfortable around. Right. So I'm interested to pick your brain a little bit. And I feel like as I've gotten older and I've gotten into real estate, and you and I both go to a lot of masterminds, we go to a lot of networking events, it's not people you necessarily see in your normal everyday life that are wired like we are to go out and find things that are hobbies, but are ways to make money and invest. And quite frankly, we take some risks that a lot of people might not be willing to do. Is that something you've been surrounded by since the beginning, or has it been more of a journey to find that?
um, being a physician, I was in a position where I've seen hundreds of thousands, well, probably not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of patients in my 23 years of practicing. And I developed a very keen ability to almost to sense, or to be able to read the personality of someone you talk to in a very short period of time, because we have about 15-20 minutes to do initial exam. And you get to learn a lot of things about a lot of people. And one of those, I think I have this ability to see and to be able to read a person. Now, sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you not get lucky. And I think the best example I could give is just like marriage. If marriage works out, it's the best thing ever. If you find the right partner, and everything, your goals aligning, and you love each other, and everything works out. But it only becomes a problem when it doesn't work out. I think the same thing with the partnership and with people that you want to be working with. One of the criterias for me specifically, and I mentioned this to you, I think during the first time
Yeah.
that we had a conversation about possibly joining forces together. I said that I can't work with people that I don't like and don't respect, and then it becomes an issue. But luckily, I was able to surround myself with people that I enjoy working with, and when that synergy happens, I think the magic happens, and we start finding more ways to not only to work together, but more ways to create, to grow business, to create income, to make more money, to grow, and to attract other people similar to us, and to grow the group. And we are growing, actually. We are hiring more people. It's not a simple process. It's not easy, as you guys know. But if you find the right person, things will
I
happen.
think that's interesting. I'm going to go down this road just a little longer. We have a short amount of time to talk. I know you've got a place to be here, and I'm going to honor your time as much as I can. But I'm interested to dig in a little bit because it seems so simple, right? This idea, you and I and David in October of 23 sat down around a table and we had a really long conversation. I sat with you guys for hours and we talked about everything. And I think we understood very quickly that our morality, our values, the way we view business, the way we view people, were very, very much in alignment. And on top of that, you guys made sure that I was gonna fill some roles that weren't necessarily things you and David love doing, right? Like I host the podcast, which is part of us getting our name out there and letting people know who we are. Maybe not something you and David necessarily wanted to do every week. So there was some very specific criteria, right? Does this person fill a role? But then it was the values and the morality, and do we like being on call? Like we get on calls for hours every week, and we enjoy it. We make each other. I wonder why that's not easier for people to do. I guess that's my question. Why is that not more common? Why is it not something that people prioritize in the hiring process?
Well, the simple answer is I think people make this whole process more complicated than it should be. The goal of bringing a person into the group or another person or a partner into the partnership is when that partner can fill the holes or the gaps that you or covering your shortcomings. Like you said, you go to podcasting. This is what you do. You have a master's degree in it. Okay, so am I gonna make myself something that I'm not? We already have someone like you who thrives at doing a podcast, who's very good at doing a podcasting, talking to people. And I think it's when I learned that there are other people that do things that I don't necessarily want to do or I can't do or they can do better than me. And if you bring them into the group and everybody do what not only what they're supposed to, but what they're
Right.
best at, right? And we're not trying to become better at things that we're not good at. We're trying to become better at things that we are
Yep.
good at, right? So we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to develop, but we want to use our strongest point and make them even stronger instead of taking our weak point and try to develop that. So um, I think it's very simple. Just find people that do what you're not good at and bring them in, and hopefully your interest aligns. Hopefully your goals are similar. Hopefully the way you look at things is very similar, and hopefully you enjoy each other's
It's
company.
so interesting that you say that. People ask me why I do the podcast sometimes. And one of the things that I say to people is obviously we do it because it's a way to get your brand out there and let people know who you are and what you're about. But for me, the guests I bring on, it's about letting people know, hey, obviously you want to make sure that people realize that they're qualified, right? That they know what the heck they're talking about and you ask questions to make sure. But on top of that, talking to them about personality things and questions not necessarily related to their job. I want guests that watch to see somebody and know whether or not it's someone they want to talk to. Is that somebody that I'm intrigued by? Is it somebody that I want to hang out with and want to have a conversation with? I found that to be really powerful and quite frankly, something I wish I'd recognized in my 20s when you're chasing a job, right? You're chasing, in America, it's like go find a way to make money instead of chasing people. And you said something very interesting that I've found to be 100% true is when you find the right people, the money and the opportunities seem to happen.
100%. And what's interesting that opportunities coming in from places that you would never expect, right? And I remember when you joined us and you were talking about new construction, new development, I was very against it. Now there was an opportunity in Valley Add, and I didn't want to hear it. But well, fast forward a year, and all we're talking about is new development, new construction. So you actually made us see the light, and I'm happy that you did because I think there's going to be a lot of good things that's going to come out for us and our investors from the new development that we are about to do and that we're doing right now. But yeah. Well, you want to bring talent, and we're lucky to have you,
Well,
man.
I'm
That's for
I'm
sure.
humbled and honored, and as I tell you all the time, one of the things I really love is you and I have some very very different parts of our personality, and it's awesome for me because you offset some of the things that are not necessarily the greatest strengths that I have. So I appreciate that greatly. Quite frankly, I'm like gung ho, run, and I'll run headfirst into a wall without thinking. You're much more like stand back and pay attention and watch what's going on. And I think that's been very, very valuable for me. So right back at you is my way of saying that.
That's
Yep,
why it works.
100%, right?
That's
Like
right.
I might pull you along a little bit, but on the other hand, you're pulling the reins a little, which is great
That's
on
why
both
it works.
sides. I wanted to go down a road because you talked about something. We are doing a couple of ground up developments, and it opens up a door because our ground up developments are not in storage. And this is something that's been really cool for me because you and David, one thing I'll say is you guys are unbelievable consumers of information. You are constantly educating yourself, constantly talking to people, and you are not someone that I would consider to be stuck in your lane, right? You are somebody that is more than willing to go look and see, hey, are there other options? I love it. Hey, this is what the podcast is all about, man. There's nothing better than somebody cleaning windows in the background while we're taping the podcast. Absolutely fantastic. This is what the viewers come to watch. That guy's smart, though. He's in Sarasota. It's hot. He's got his hat on. He's got the thing down his neck to keep the sunburn from going. So we're not developing some story.
That's the beauty of a live
Say that
TV,
again.
right?
I'm sorry.
The beauty of a live TV, it's unpredictable,
Yeah,
right?
we're taping live. So
We're taping live.
you're not
Sure.
stuck. And that's one of the things I love about you. You're very self-aware, and you recognize that while you had opportunity and say you guys absolutely crushed. Like, people can go on our website and see the returns we've given to investors. I say I wasn't even a part of it, that David and Russell at the time doing these value add projects in self-storage. You've gone full cycle on 4 of them. We've got 2 others listed right now. You guys absolutely knocked it out of the park. But you didn't pull the wool over your eyes and think somehow that this is just going to be easy to repeat. You are willing to go and look and dig and keep educating and keep understanding the market. So it's a long introduction, but it's my way of saying, asking the question of what made you kind of pivot out of storage and now looking at these small bay industrial flex ground up development projects that we're getting involved in.
Well, one of the things about running a business, I think one of the key qualities for any business owner is your ability to adjust. Your ability to adjust the way you look at things, your ability to adjust the way you perceive your business, your ability to stay on top of the market trends. And I think while things seems to be okay, but you know, within the last few years, we noticed the shift in market, a quite a substantial shift in the market, not only from a perspective of the values of the properties, but also I would say in general, you know, with the REITs playing the game that they are playing, with our ability to compete as a small business owner with the large publicly or privately owned REITs. With our ability to adjust the rates as needed, as we used to be able to 2, 3, 4 years ago, and as our ability to add value to the property have shifted, have changed, we had to look for other ways to stay in the business. And one of those things, one of the things that we, like you said, constantly do is we're looking around to see what else is out there. We're not stuck in our ways, and we're willing to change. We're willing to modify our approach. And we're willing to go as far as possibly even look at other asset classes. And like you said, recently we've been involved primarily in the small bay industrial flex space, multi-tenant flex space. We feel it's an up-and-coming opportunity. We feel it's very similar to what storage used to be 8 to 10 years ago. We feel that there are still properties that are undervalued, that we can come in and add value to it and make it a lot more profitable, and therefore making money for our investors. The one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to compete where we can't win. We don't want to knock on the door that is constantly closed. You know, there are people are closing on properties right now in self-storage facilities. God bless, if they can find value, and which became a lot more difficult. We try. We're looking at deals every day. We just don't see a lot of deals worthwhile investing in. We actually make a lot of offers. Doesn't mean that we are closing in deals. And one thing that you and I know for sure, that this company will never do a deal for the sake of doing a deal. We only do deals if we know for sure that we can add value to it, and we can add value to our investors. Because first and foremost, we work for them, we work with them, and our job is to protect the downside of our investors and to make money for them. Having said that, we feel that if there's a better opportunity, if there is a faster horse, so to say, somewhere else, we will go there. We will go there.
So 2 quick questions that come out of that, and I'm going to ask one just to kind of wrap up this idea of you guys foray into self-storage and how well you've done. you guys were able to exit really well. And I think some of that is the reason you've been able to exit so well is exactly why it's been so challenging to then buy new projects to value add, right? Talk to me a little bit about the influx of money that's come into self storage and why you think that's happened. You know, we sold a project earlier this year in Sturtevant, Wisconsin, which is as tertiary of a market. If there was a word beyond tertiary for a market, Sturtevant would probably fit into that, right? But we sold it to Merritt Hill, which is backed by, you know, I can't remember if they're Blackstone or BlackRock, one of the two largest property owners in the country, backing them. There's been so much money come into storage. Why is that?
Well, money goes where it's being treated the best. That's the bottom line. Money goes where they can generate yields, and investors looking for higher returns than your average market returns, than the money market returns. And for a while, storage was able to provide that. And I think the genie is out of the bottle, and people, you know, it's no longer a industry secret. And all of a sudden, you see the influx of a lot of new investors, just like ourselves, about 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it was easy to make money in self storage. It was easier. It was not a well-known asset to masses. I mean, people in the business, they knew about the deals and whatnot, the asset class. But for the outside investors, it was not very well known, because most investors, they have very similar path. You know, you start with a single family house, then you buy a duplex, and then you do fix and flip, and somehow you end up in multifamily, right? That's the path. So the multifamily got overheated. I noticed that once I got involved in at the end of 2020, I got involved in multifamily, or 2019 actually. And I realized really quickly that it was overheated. It was a buying frenzy. It was John selling to David, and David selling back to John again, and everybody's making money. It was a game of music chairs, but that game would that song would stop at some point of time. So I exited all of my investment in multifamily, started looking around, and then storage came along. And it was good for a number of years. It's still great. You know, we're still running facilities. We're extremely profitable, and our investors are very happy, and we're maintaining very high occupancy. But I think the writing is on the wall. We need to be able, if we're to grow and we're to scale to where you and I are talking daily, where we want to scale, where we want to grow to, we need to find additional assets that we can take a look at, and we need to acquire and or
I
develop.
think it's so interesting is, when I first got into real estate and heard about commercial real estate, it was always the idea of going and buying something for a double digit cap rate, right? If something's generating $200,000 a year, you want to buy it for less than $2 million. So you're capitalizing your interest in less than 10 years. Man, in storage right now, you're lucky if you can buy something with a cap rate that gets your money back in 20 years. And so you've just seen that opportunity to value add on the back end, right? The old saying in real estate, the profit's in the buy price, not the sell price, right? How you buy it is what's eventually going to determine how profitable it becomes. And you just can't find projects that you can buy at that number where you look at it and say, you know what, we got a really good opportunity to make money on the back end.
Also, just to follow up on that point, which is exactly how it is right now, but the industry trends, the consolidations that we're seeing within the industry right now, the larger players coming in, and like you said, I think the best example is us selling this property in Wisconsin earlier this year to a very large company that would not even look at that type of property, at that size of property, at that location where the property is 2, 3, 4 years ago, but they can't get growth anywhere else. So they got to go to tertiary market. So on one hand, it's a good opportunity for the existing owners that they can capitalize and they can exit at a pretty strong, significant cap rate. On the other hand, it just puts a small groups and small investors and small business owners at a disadvantage, because you can't compete with those guys. Their cost of capital is different. Their underwriting is different. Their time horizon is different. They are set up completely different from what we're able to come up with, what we're able to afford. So the competition is kind of it's very uneven today, and that's why, once again, new construction, new development, flex space, other assets we gotta learn how to adapt. We gotta do it fast too.
All right, last question. And this is going to be a quick one because I know you got to get out of here quickly, but why flex space? Why small bay industrial flex? What is it about this asset class that makes you feel it's 8 years before? If and listen, anyone that got into storage in the early tens to the middle of the tens is absolutely crushing. Why is industrial flex space that asset class right now?
So the short answer is very similar to self-storage. That's number one. Okay, so the ease of management. It's not as easy. It's not as intensive. It's actually more labor intensive and management intensive than storage. However, it's very similar to what we do in storage, and we got pretty good at it. So number one, we are familiar with the management part. Number two, it's for a while it still is kind of unloved, within the on the greater scheme of things, and with an exception of very large companies that are going into very large buildings and Prologic and stuff like that. It's being looked at as the same way storage was looked at 10 years ago, I think, before all the big banks were kind of willing to land on it, and institutional investors were willing to come in and put their money in. So the other thing is that scalability. There's a way for us to scale to $100 million worth of asset under management with a small bay versus other assets. Number three, I think it's somewhat under market still, and I think the returns that you're able to generate today in small bay are significantly higher than you're able to generate this in self-storage. And once again, money goes where is being treated best. That's where we're going. That's where we're taking our investors' money. That's where we feel comfortable we're going to be able to generate the returns. And just like I said, we work for our investors, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure we make it.
Russell Nercessoff, CEO, co-founder of Safe Storage USA. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I'm going to honor your time and get you out of here. Quick thank you to PropRise for their continued sponsorship of the Self Storage Made Simple podcast. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.